Hi, my name's Dave, and you're listening to episode 83 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers, by scale modelers, all about scale models. And this show is being brought to you through the generous support of Con George, Paul Brown, and Dan Hackett, three modelling heroes who have stepped into the breach to help support the show. And you too can help support the show by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your contributions help cover our production and hosting costs and are greatly appreciated. The Scale Modeler Supply. Certified Australian made, the Scale Modeler Supply has created a comprehensive range of premium acrylic lacquer paints that have been specifically developed to cater for the scale modeler. Designed to use straight from the bottle, SMS paints have taken all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake the durable glass bottle and pour and spray for a fast drying and extremely durable result. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, aircraft, train, car, science fiction or gunpla. SMS premium acrylic lacquer paints will have the colour to suit you. The Modeler Supply is also your one-stop shop for all weathering, brushes, masking, tools and other accessory needs. SMS paints and tools and accessories are available either directly from their website, www.scalemodeler.com.au, or through stockists across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and the USA. And as a special bonus exclusive to our On The Bench listeners, you will get 10% off your next order by using the promo code OTB2020 when ordering direct from Scale Modeler. So go now to www.scalemodeler.com.au and place your order. We know you won't be disappointed. And hello and welcome to the show. And with us, not in the studio, but coming in via the magic of the interweb, I've got Julian.
Hi.
That's it? Hi?
Yes, hi. It's early in the morning. I haven't even finished my first cup of coffee.
We might have a break later on so you can get some more caffeine. All right, well, let's go to somebody else.
Need that.
Let's go to somebody else who's perhaps a little bit more bubblier and awake than you are. G'day, Ian.
G'day, Dave. G'day, listeners.
How are we?
I'm great. Good night's sleep, and I'm ready to rock and roll.
We had our club meeting.
Ian's
last
already
night.
Been up for maybe 4 hours.
Yeah, I've been up for a while.
We had
my body clock set for 4 a.m.
Oh, jeez. We had our club meeting last night, electronic one, which was, and I'm just saying to Julian off air, I get more work done on my models during our electronic club meeting than I do when I ever go to a club meeting, because I never take my kits with me to build anything.
Yes. Yeah, funny how that works out, isn't it?
So I've got about 4 hours of uninterrupted modelling, just sitting there listening to you guys all gibber on about stuff.
Yep. And there was plenty of jibber jabber last night too.
Oh, there was. So, guys, since last week, what have we been doing? Let's start with you, Julian.
Nothing.
Oh.
But my dry spell is about to come to an end, I think.
Oh, way to go.
Because, I tend to sort of, you know how it's quite popular these days to binge watch an entire TV series, like a whole season?
Yes.
Yep.
Right? So I was doing that back in like 2005. You know, my friends would go off and they'd download entire series, and then I'd get it on disc or whatever, and then I'd just watch it all in one sitting. And it set a bad precedent because I do that all the time for all things in my life. You know, I'll just build nothing but models. Then I'll go through a phase where I play nothing but video games, and then I'll go off and I'll, you know, I'll watch a whole bunch of TV series. So lately, I've been reading these web novels, and now I've run out of stuff to read.
Yeah,
And so I've been sort of like going. The last couple of days, I've been sort of going, what am I gonna spend my time doing? I got nothing left to read. So I've been playing. I'm not as into World of Warships as you guys are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I obviously I play a hell of a lot more games, and my standards are higher. I'll put it down to that. But I do enjoy, like, sort of, for what it is. It is an enjoyable game, and I'll because I don't want to play any of the mainstream countries. Like, I imagine a lot of players will want to play either the British, the Germans, or the Japanese. They want to have the Bismarck or the Hood or the Yamato.
Yep.
So that's why I tend to play the French and the Italians, because no one wants to go to them, right? Or at least
because
that's the way I think about it. Yeah. But the Italian ships are really pretty looking.
Yeah, they go fast, but they're made
So last night I bought a model kit for an Italian heavy cruiser.
Oh,
hey, go Julian!
Wow.
So I decided. So
Which one, Julian?
It's the Fiume, I believe it's pronounced.
Fiume.
Fiume.
Yep, Fiume.
Yeah, you got to put the Italian accent on it when you say it. Fiume.
Yeah. Which is a Zara. It's a Zara class cruiser, isn't it, Julian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because I was looking at I just sort of went on the internet and started, I typed in Italian and then narrowed the search to 350th scale.
Yep.
And it came up with some results. One of them was the an old trumpeter kit of the Polar, and that was $23.
Yeah, for one 350 scale ship, which is giving it away.
Yeah, I was like, was this thing some kind of like really tiny thing that I'm expecting like a largish box, and I get something that's the size of, a cigarette packet? No, it's a full, 50 centimeter sized ship.
Yep.
It's just an old kit, and that's why it's cheap, because they know that nobody wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you actually look it up on ScaleMates, it actually has two separate timelines, because it actually shows that kit and how it got reboxed twice, and then it has a separate tree that has the Zara and the one that I end up buying, the Fiume. And what's happened is they've basically done a new toolkit, and then they've added more parts for the Fiume, and then they've released it again.
Yeah.
And that's only a kit that's like 3 years old, so it's pretty recent. I'm not sure how much of the aftermarket that's out there that applies to the Zara will apply to the Fiume, because the Fiume is like a 2020 release.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure the Fiume and the Zara are pretty much identical, aren't they?
It says new parts were added. So if there's differences, I don't know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I might be able to get away with using almost all of the same, like, brass gun barrels.
Yeah, you'd be able to do that, yep.
And I'd probably be able to get away with using, from what I can understand, just eyeballing it, I'd probably be able to use the wooden decks.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very
so
cool.
This ship ticks all the boxes of what I want to see when I want to build an Italian ship. It's got that red and white striping on the deck up the front.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, some ships have like them on the front and the rear. And that's a little too much.
Well, I'm just having a look here online, Julian, while you're chatting, and the Zara and the Fiume pretty much look identical to each other. It's the Gorizia, and the Polar, which were modified differently.
All right.
So I reckon if you can find bits for a Zara, it should fit the Fiume perfectly.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
And the interesting thing about the Italian ships from World War II is not only do they have those red and white recognition stripes, but they've got really cool camouflage as well. So it makes visually, it's extremely interesting.
Well, that's the thing. Like, of all the different kits of these class ships that Trumpeter have out, all of them are just plain grey, except for the Fiume, which has the grey on grey camouflage.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that was another one of my requirements. I want the camouflage, right?
Yep.
Because it looks cool. Like I don't.
It does look good, yeah.
I mean, you see a lot of ship kits and they're all grey. One grey, maybe a different grey for the decking. Sometimes, but I'd rather not do something like that. I want something that's a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't want one that was red and white striped at the rear and the front because that's a little too much. I don't need a Christmas themed ship. Looks like looks like it's all candy caned up.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like you got some research ahead of you though, because the boot line they're not too sure whether or not it was red or green.
I'm going to do it green.
Yeah, do it green. The Italian ships look better with the green boot lines.
From what I can tell, like a lot of the older sort of depictions of it, the side profile schemes, they're red, and then like recently they're all green.
On my Italian Corvette, I did a green boot stripe as well. Yeah.
Yeah, see that's another reason thing of what got me into these Italian ships is that seeing your model of that little Corvette thing.
Yep.
And it just looks so striking because like I see I go to Expo, I wander all the tables and I look at all the models in depth because that's what I love to do when I go to one of those sort of events, and I really enjoyed seeing your one do quite well.
Mm.
What did it place or did it get a commended or something?
No, it placed. It came either second or third, I think, which means it's now been retired to the display cabinet. But it was a great little kit. That was a resin kit actually. I'm trying to think who did it.
Yeah. Damn you, Julian! I just bought it.
What did you want? The same kit?
Oh, jeez.
Well, we chat and I quickly jumped onto B&A and just bought it.
Oh, wow.
Which one?
Perfume.
Really? You found it on... Okay.
Yeah, must have come in yesterday, I'd say.
Are you serious?
I am deadly serious.
It must have come in today because I'm pretty sure I looked for it on there and it wasn't there.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Did you buy any aftermarket?
I'm looking for it now.
That'll be what he does for the rest of the podcast. He'll be busy looking for all the aftermarket stuff.
You won't hear a peep out of me. I'll be too busy shopping.
Well, before you go searching for stuff to buy, Ian, what have you been doing since the last episode?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I started cutting out the vac form canopy for the Buffalo.
Oh, how'd you go with that?
Because, it's not too bad. It's not the best vac form though, I'm afraid. I may have to do a bit of fiddling with the original rear canopy, try and fix that up to use that, and just use the center section of the vac form.
Vac form scares the hell out of me. It really does. I've
used vac form plenty of times.
Yeah.
You just got to be really, really careful.
I bet you do.
Mm.
Well, I've been actually just building away on my Warhammer Blitzer bomber, which is just been enjoyable.
The Orc heavy bomber.
Yeah, it's funny. I glued some bits on it and realised that I glued them upside down, but because it's such a funny aircraft, I don't think you're going to notice.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm up to the painting stage now, which is good. I did figures for the first time. The pilot and the rear gunner. So, first time I've ever done figures in mine since I was a kid. So there you go.
And you didn't have to use any flesh tones either.
Yeah, I know. It's all green, so it was really cool.
Green dudes.
Yeah, so they're all buttoned up in their respective little canopies and gondolas, and I'm just starting to sort of paint up now. So I reckon I'll have a solid session tomorrow, being our Sunday, and I reckon I'll probably get that close to finish, to tell you the truth.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah. Well, we have got a ton, and I mean a literal avalanche of emails to talk about what people have been sending in and having a chat to us. So I think we might dive right into that.
Sounds like a plan, mate.
So, first one comes from Mark Box, who writes, "Hello on the bench crew from a proud Patreon supporter." Thank you very much, Mark. Hope all is well, and for you and your families. Just thought I'd share some bench time with you fellas. Decided to pull out the Dragon 1/700 scale Bismarck and paint the deck and flat coat it. I'm enjoying this kit a lot. Just wanted to share a few pictures of it. It has some quirks like funky rubberized superstructure parts, but it is working fine for now. I hope there is a broadcast soon on your podcast on some 700 scale ships soon. I'd love to hear your views and any guests that may have some insight on this crazy but unbelievable scale. I've been modelling for a few decades now and built everything from cars, wooden ships, armour and aircraft, but found myself buying stupid amounts of PE in ships. I guess I hear Ian's voice saying, "Fudowitch is your friend," every time I look for some new stuff from the stash. Anyway, cheers and keep it up, and good work on your podcast. Well, Mark, we've done a podcast on shipbuilding, and in fact, we had a guy on who builds exclusively in 1/700 scale Callum. And
yes,
does mainly Aussie subjects, so you might want to track back and have a listen to those particular episodes. But
I think the primary difference between the two scales is that I think you just end up like if you have a certain standard of detail you have in your mind, I think you just end up using a lot more photo etch in 700 scale.
Yeah,
because you end up replacing so much more sort of simplified, like overly thick details with more photo etch. Yeah, like you have to like for example the smaller anti-aircraft guns end up being replaced by literal, sticks of photo etch rather than brass because it's just too small.
Yeah. Dave Knight writes back in. If you remember last episode, he wrote in and there was a picture of an Airfix 1/72 scale Akashimira.
Oh yeah. We couldn't find it. Yeah.
Well, so he's written the real story behind it. Jeff is a prolific and ambitious modeler. And a couple of years ago, decided to scratch build the 1/72 scale Akashimira as a base for his new Hasegawa Emily. I joked with him at the time that as soon as he was 3/4 done, a manufacturer would announce the subject. Later on, it's an April Fool's joke. He emailed me to tell me that Airfix had announced one and sent me the box top that he also sent to you. I fell for also hook, line, and sinker. So there you go. There's the story behind that one. I was a bit suspect about it, but you never know, do you? There's always things out there that
Yep.
Well, the thing is, it can be really hard to figure out if any. I mean, scale mates, sure, they exist, and they tend to document things pretty well.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of grey area, I mean, who knows what some Eastern manufacturers cooked up? I mean,
totally agree.
Not that FX is an Eastern manufacturer, Eastern European manufacturer, but I mean, you know what I mean. There's you can't know of every kid, can you?
No,
absolutely.
Not at all.
And then Jeff Groves actually wrote in and he's given me a link. He said it was intended tongue-in-cheek. And he said, sorry I didn't make that more obvious. Well, it's not your fault, Jeff, that I'm a bit of a sucker, but never mind. He's actually got a link for WordPress where he's actually posted the build. So I might put that to our Facebook page because I'm sure some people may be interested.
Yeah.
Next up, Nathan Hunt writes in and he's talking to Julian. He says, hey, Benches, first-time emailer and long-time listener. Thank you, Nathan. Hey, Julian, I may have come up with a solution for the F7F Tiger kit and how to have it sit right without using weights. I figured if you use the aftermarket True Details resin wheel set, as a kit-issued rubber wheels are useless, and a super glue / screw down the nose wheel to a plastic or wooden base, and you don't have to worry about the landing gear snapping from the weight of the nose. I own a few AMT/Italeri F7F kits, and I think when they designed the kit, they didn't design the kit to have weights in it, which explains the oil drum and wooden box supplied in the kit so it's mounted upright. Thanks, guys. Loving the podcast. Nathan.
Yep. I've heard of that solution. I have never really sort of taken it very seriously because I'm not a fan of putting aircraft on bases because, to be honest, they tend to look like just a big wide square or circle if you're into circles with a lot of blank empty space in the areas around the plane. And I just don't have the room for a dedicated big square like that. It would take up an entire shelf for me, and I can't justify that amount of space. It's bad enough that the F4 I built recently takes up an entire shelf almost, and I can't put anything else on that shelf, except maybe something in 72nd that I built.
Yep.
I have thought of other possible solutions. As you know, there is a white metal undercarriage that you used to be able to get for it, but you can't anymore. So that's kind of an option, but kind of not. It's also not guaranteed to be all that strong. What I would potentially do is, if I ever decided I really wanted to do the kit, I might buy a 3D printer, design up the sort of cast elements of the nose undercarriage, and then replace the pole shaft type items with a brass tube or something to make a stronger nose gear.
Yep, that'll work.
Yeah, that would probably be something strong because, yeah, like I said, it was super flimsy, that nose gear on the one that I handled. I didn't want to touch it. Yeah. So I mean, as long as I can solve the problem of it being super flimsy, then I can probably try and find a way to cram more weight into the nose somehow.
Yes.
Like, apparently, like, the person who built this thing he put like weight in the nose, behind the cockpit, in the engines, and it still wasn't enough.
Wow.
So I don't know. It'll be something I'll have to cross when I get to it in the future. Far off future.
Yeah.
In the far future.
I remember when I did my 48 scale B25 Mitchell. Like, I use shotgun pellets.
That's another one. Yeah, I've seen.
And that's because that's the glass nose version. So, there was plenty of every small gap I could find before the rear wheels was filled with shotgun pellets. And I was so surprised that the undercarriage didn't collapse under the weight because it is a heavy mother.
Yeah, I remember that. You told me to move it. I didn't want to touch it.
It's pretty robust. It's been sitting on its undercarriage now for over 10 years and it hasn't collapsed, so I think it should be all right.
Oh, we'll wait and see. Time will tell. Next up, we have an email from Brian Latour, a good friend and listener. And Brian writes in, "Hello, I listened to your confusion about 156 scale regarding the Italian tank and wanted to clear it up for you.
Excellent.
156 is also 28 millimeters in scale, which is the most common scale for wargaming. Games like Warhammer, War Machine, Infinity, etc. use this scale, as well as most miniatures for use in games like D&D. More importantly, it is also the scale used in Bolt Action, which is probably the most popular World War II miniature game right now. While I've never played Bolt Action, I have a couple of friends who are big fans. While miniature scales aren't always consistent, that's a whole nother discussion with terms like true scale and heroic scale and scale creep being a real thing, as well as different ideas and how tall an orc is in real life. The concept is that the millimeter measurement represents the height of the average size person from the sole of the shoe to the eyeball. So why the eyeball and not the overall height of the person? Because it's easier to measure to the eyeball than to the top of someone's head if he is wearing some sort of big fancy Napoleonic hat. So you can roughly convert back and forth by dividing 1600, the approximate height in millimeters of the average person's eye, by either the scale number or the millimeters. So 1600 divided by 28 equals 57.14, which is pretty close to 56. whereas 1600 divided by 56 equals 28.57, which is pretty close to 28. Well, Brian, I can feel that I've been educated.
We have been educated. Thank you very much, Brian.
So it's Brian from Ottawa in Canada. Thanks very much. It's awesome.
I always thought that Warhammer was 35 millimeter.
No.
And I've heard 28 millimeter before though. Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I don't know enough about figures or wargaming.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to be sort of really into the sort of wargaming space to really familiarize yourself with that sort of thing. I'm just
definitely.
This next email's funny. It's from Tony, a good friend of ours. Tony writes in, every time I see a model spinning on a mirror, I feel like it needs a brass stripper pole. I agree with Julian in that it's a bit tacky, which isn't a bad thing if you're having lunch at Spearmint Rhino Club, which is a gentleman's club. Oh, jeez. That's funny. That's funny. Good. Now, Tony also writes in another one, and he's saying, we're talking about super glue with baking soda. And he's saying, don't try mixing on a pallet. Baking soda works like an accelerator and will instantly cure the CA. Using it as a filler, you run super glue onto the gap, then sprinkle the baking soda on top. But Ian is right that it's a bugger to sand, although Anthony's super sanding blocks would possibly help here. For a mix to apply, I sometimes use acrylic powder with CA, which results in it drying but not rock hard. The advantage of CA as a filler is that it dries super fast and doesn't crumble like a lot of putties do. Plus, super thin CA will actually move into any joints where you might not have to be able to put the Tamiya cement in properly. Cheers again from Tony.
Yep.
That's a very good idea. And I've never actually used baking soda and CA.
Right.
Have you guys ever tried that?
No, never.
I can't remember. It sounds like something I might have tried once and gone, that didn't work out as planned, and then moved on.
All right, next week, if you remember last week, I lost the email from Clayton Ockerby.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and he's resent it into me. And he writes, firstly, congratulations on your ongoing efforts with the podcast. It's not easy to maintain the sort of enthusiasm and momentum that you guys do, so thank you from all of us here in the modelling community. Given Julian is building the... Oh, gosh, I can't pronounce this word. Is it Colibri? Colibri? For the Musharu Cup?
Colibri?
Colibri. Kolobri. The Whirly
It's not that uncommon a name.
It's very uncommon name.
Yeah, there's a really small pistol called the Colibri. It's really, really small. I think the size of the bullet is the caliber of the bullet something like 2 or 3 millimeters or something like that. It's really small. It's a joke of a gun.
I'm going to call it a Colibri, and that'll do. So, given Julian's building the Colibri for the Musharu Cup, I thought it offered some insights for what it's worth. I reviewed and built the Colibri for the Modelling News, which is a online website. So I know the kit well. Couple of things. The blades come out for transportation. They have a couple of pins on the connecting points so that it should be okay as long as you have someone at the other end to place them back in. They should balance in position okay. The thing tail sits badly with nowhere to add weight, assuming it's a version I have. You'll need to pin it to a base to display it. Later versions have the cowling though, so you may be able to add some nose weight in there. The front cage where the pilot sits is quite fragile as it's just glued to the body of the main section. You'll need to cradle that when transporting it. All of the work is in the engine, linkages and levers, but the fit was really good, so any experienced modeller should manage it with no trouble. That's you, Julian. Photo etch for harnesses wasn't great, so you may want to consider something aftermarket. Other than that, it's a lovely little kit of a unique subject. I'm sure Julian will do Australia proud. Lastly, I agree with Ian regarding the Revell Schnellboot. Probably one of the best models I enjoy building, and most of all, I still get the most enjoyment out of looking at it in the display case. Anyway, thanks again for what you guys do. Keep up the great work, fellas. And that's Clayton. So I'll send that email on to you, Julian, so that you can actually have a look at that.
Yes.
There you go.
Well, from what I understand, the boxing I'll be doing is the Russian one.
Right.
And so there's a large sort of even though it's mostly a tube frame sort of looking thing, it does have like an almost like barrel sort of shaped a bit of, I don't know, I guess you could call it fuselage in the very center that surrounds where the motor is. And maybe I can like jam some weight in there, maybe.
Shotgun pellets, Julian. They're small and they're heavy.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I've got a big bag. And I've got a big bag of it. So if you want some, I can hand you some over.
I do have some of that lead putty type stuff. The from Ushi.
Yeah, I've got some of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for getting into places. Like I might be able to pack some of that inside the nose wheel. That might help.
Yeah. Good idea.
Next up, we have an email from Malcolm Hunter, and Malcolm comes from the UK, and he writes, "Hi, Dave, Ian and Julian. After working my way through every modelling podcast that you guys have recommended, I'm up to your episode 75, in which you talk about various things, including movies and the Aussie thing of panic buying bog rolls." Well, it was not just confined to Australia. Here in England, we had our own set of baboons who wiped out supplies of loo roll, pasta and bread. I also just thought I would mention that some of the scenes from 1917, the movie, were filmed near where I live. It was the scenes of the dead bodies floating in the water, and they were so realistic that there was actually numerous calls to police from walkers seeing these bodies floating past, because at the time, obviously, nobody really knew about the film. That's quite a funny thing. I love the podcast, and I've been modelling for about 40 years, and your enthusiasm for the hobby keeps me enthralled and entertained. Thank you very much, and I hope you and your families are keeping safe in this very dark time. Malcolm Hunter from the UK. Well, thanks very much for that, Malcolm.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Next one we have, let's see, D. Luton writes in. Good day, benchers. I hope you're all safe and staying warm in this chilly weekend. Just a quick email to say thanks for keeping a lot of people centered together during this rough time. I must make up the smallest denomination of your listeners. I'm female, ex-military. I can still strip and reassemble the SLR rifle in my sleep, and also am an armour modeller. Never would I identify as a good or great modeller. I work night shift permanently, so my bench time is extremely limited, as a need for sleep overrides a lot of my other desires. I know
where she's coming from.
I won't include a photo of my bench, as it takes a couple of minutes to clear the space before it becomes workable. The only club I belong to is the Virtual Benches. I would rather go 15 rounds with Ali in his prime than enter a competition with any of my models, but the enjoyment I receive from the hobby is unending. I suffer greatly from depression and anxiety, so the isolation has been a snap for me, as social distancing has always been a factor in my life. But having now weekly doses of Ian, Dave and Julian are a real must. As for photo etch, I totally agree that the detail it adds to is superb, but here's a question. I've been working a Tamiya 1/35th scale Horch 4x4 when I found a sheet of photo etch for the model on eBay. With postage, it would have been $68, whereas the Horch only cost me $18 to buy. That's 3 times as much as the original kit. As much as I would love to expand my work, I can't justify that cost, especially to my partner. Any thoughts? P.S. Please keep helping control my depression, and that's from DD in north of Brisbane.
Yeah, that's $60. That's really pretty expensive for a photo etch for basically a car. Yeah, it's a tough one, really. Yeah, it's either you're going to have to bite the bullet, DD, or just do it without it.
And you can make a reasonable model.
To me, a kid will build up fine without the photo etch anyway.
And Dee Dee sort of hits the nail on the head. She's just building for her own pleasure, and it sort of helps her with her, depression and everything she's got. So she doesn't need to go and buy photo etch as if she's building a competition. The only person she needs to please is herself. And
exactly,
if it's ticking all the boxes to keep doing it that way, then keep doing it that way.
Yes, yeah. Yep.
There are alternatives to photo etch, depending on the case too. Was it for a car kit? Is that what you said?
It's a Horch. It's like a German version of like a those little what are they? The little white 4x4 American trucks they had, the little small ones.
Yeah.
You're talking about the white Scout car?
Yeah, so it's similar to the white Scout car, but the German version.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I without looking at the kit and the photo etch set, like I'm not sure how much of that would actually be of use. Because generally, like, there's not too much on wheeled vehicles that you would actually really need the photo etch for. At most, maybe little brackets and things that lights get mounted on, or usually they'll have a very, very small photo etch sheet with them. They'll have, say, if it's got the motor, they'll do maybe the fan.
Yeah, I'm actually, while we're chatting, I'm actually just jumping online here and having a look at the photo etch for the Horch. If it's Edward, it's mainly just the dash, and as Julian said, the odd little strap here and there, and a few boxes, which I don't think you'd really need. I'd pass on it.
Yeah,
I would pass on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Craig Stanley writes from Canberra, Australian Capital Territory, and he writes, "Hi, Dave, Ian and Julian. I just finished listening to your latest podcast, what model companies should do to value add. Thanks for the great podcast once again. They're always interesting and informative. Some companies are good at this and others not so much. As Julian stated, Edward does a great job with their value add options. The option of weekend and profile pack editions allow modelers to choose how much they want to spend and how much detail they wish to include in their builds. The special editions are also a very good idea. Their royal packs and recent Dudosh niche releases are a cases in point. Their instructions are also very good and marking options are clear and informative. One thing I would really like to see more companies do is the ability to download PDF versions of their instructions from their website. Edward and Wingnut Wings, for example, do this, and it allows modelers to plan the build much better with the ability to enlarge the instructions and write on them, colour them, or whatever they want to do without damaging the original instructions, especially so for the beautiful Wingnut Wings instructions. This is particularly handy when you pick up kits at buy, swap, sell meets or garage sales that are missing the instructions. I also agree wholeheartedly in that the marking guide colour call-out section of the instructions, manufacturers should include the FS/RLM/RAL numbers, etc., where available, as this would make it so much simpler to choose the correct colour from the various paint manufacturers.
Correct, yes.
Speaking of colour call-outs, it's about bloody time that Tamiya started doing theirs in actual colour. I have no problem with their black and white instructions whose format hasn't changed since the 1970s, but there is no excuse these days for poor black and white painting guides that they provide. Tamiya kits are consistently excellent, but they let themselves down with the lackluster instructions. Stay safe and well. Hopefully for us here in Oz, there is light at the end of the tunnel re-COVID-19 restrictions. Cheers, Craig Stanley from Canberra. Well, he makes some really good points there.
He does, yes. Totally
Yes.
agree, Dave.
Yep. And it's interesting, that little thing he added on the end there. It looks like our restrictions are perhaps going to be eased. We're going to have announcements on Monday. The federal government have sort of put their pathway to recovery back down, announced it the other day, and we're just waiting for our state leader to announce on Monday. So we might even be able to be back in the studio together soon, guys.
Gee, that'd be all right.
Oh, you're missing
free breakfast and all.
You're missing Michelle's glorious cooking, aren't you?
Oh yeah, that we do, mate.
Yeah, well, we've been doing this podcast for some time now, and it's become like a bit of a little ritual.
Yeah.
Head over to Dave's place.
Yeah.
Have a
Have
good
some
meal.
food, a coffee and stuff, and have a yak. It's good.
Yep.
Well, don't talk it up too much, because the guys from the other two podcasts are complaining because they don't get that same sort of hospitality as I give.
Well, that's because I don't live down here.
Yeah, very true. All right, well, there was a ton of listener mail, so how about...
That was a fair lot, yeah.
Now we move into what's new in the modelling world. It's fairly small. Hobby Boss is the only real big announcement for this month, and they're announcing 2 kits. The first one is in 1/48 scale, and it's a Corsair Mark III. And this is the actual Corsair that was built by the Brewster aircraft company. The Brewster company actually built, let me have a quick look here. They built 430 Brewster Corsairs. 334 of them were the F3A-1s, and 96 of them were the F3A-1Ds. And more than half of the production was delivered to the Fleet Air Arm, the Royal Navy. But the interesting thing is, because of Brewster's issues they had with labour troubles, which delayed production, they had poor quality fitting wings, which meant the aircraft are actually redlined for speed and prohibited from doing aerobatics after several lost their wings.
And it ended up, Brewster company folded.
Yeah, they did. Yep. Which is interesting that an aircraft company during wartime production actually folds, because you think there'd be that much work on that you could, but if you're not making the right stuff.
I'd say there was a very deep problem in the company.
Yeah, absolutely.
But looking at the kit,
it
looks all right. It's got interesting, nice little bits of detail, cockpit sidewalls, which look separate. 2 different versions. So you can either build it with the canopy open or closed. You've got 2 different decks to suit the canopy. You get 2 types of, the sliding canopies, one for open, one for closed. So, yeah.
And the engine looks quite detailed too in plastic. So you could build quite comfortably build it out of the box with no issues. The wheels look to be correct, the correct type of wheels that they had. So it should make a great kit straight out of the box.
No.
It's interesting that they've separated the wings into inside and outside.
Yes. Same as Tamiya. So they've separated the wings at the wing fold.
I wonder if it's because they've designed they probably designed it so that you can fold the wings. Yeah, that looks to be the case. You can see like the parts for the insert on the ends.
Oh, yep, I can see them there. Yep.
So that
you can have the wings folded up or down. Yep, by the looks of it. Yep.
Yeah.
It's got a nice little ignition ring for the engine. Nice little ignition ring.
Yeah, as I said, you can build that.
It's got all the points there, so you can put all your wiring on.
Yeah, so you could build that quite comfortably out of the box and be quite proud of it. It'd be a good standalone.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, you got two Fleet Air Arm versions of decals.
Now, the Fleet Air Arm and the US Marines were the first ones to use the Corsair, weren't they?
I think so.
Because the US Navy had concerns about how you could land on an aircraft carrier, so the ones that were supposed to go to the US Navy were handballed over to the Marines, and the Royal Navy figured out a way to sort of come in and land, because a big gull wing sort of caused issues not in the gull wing, but where the cockpit was, it caused issues as to where you could see the aircraft carrier coming into land.
Well, plus you had that massive long nose.
Yeah, that was actually the main sort of reason.
And I'm pretty sure the early Corsairs had a lot of trouble with collapsing undercarriage too.
Oh, did they?
Mm.
And of course, the Royal New Zealand Air Force, they had hundreds of these that they used throughout the Pacific War.
Yep.
So yeah,
with great success too.
Absolutely. Next model to be... sorry, Julian?
Well, I want to say that I think you have to be more of a fan of the Fleet Air than you have to be of the Corsair to build this kit. Because it's got like the squared off wingtips.
Yes.
Yep.
That looks weird.
Yeah, it does look weird. It's sort of like clip wing. Oh. And for those of you who like building your Corsairs, I'm sure that's going to be a must-have in your stash and your build lineup as well.
Yep.
So next up we have is the DPRK Pukgub Song.
The Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the Pukgung Song 2. What is it, a missile?
It is. It's a medium range intermediate range ballistic missile that is under development by North Korea, which, unlike the nation's earlier designs, uses solid fuel. It's been described as nuclear capable, and its first flight was 12th of February 2017. So this makes it quite a very topical and very recent. So this kit is the tractor, and on top of it is mounted the actual missile itself. And it makes for an interesting looking subject.
Looks very Russian.
Well, yeah, because it's sort of based Russian/Chinese.
Oh, actually, I wouldn't agree with that because it kind of looks like it's been made out of leftovers of Russian tanks and other things.
Yeah,
you know what it looks like?
It
looks like something that the evil guys would use in the Thunderbirds. The bad guys would use in the Thunderbirds.
You know what I reckon it looks like? I reckon it looks like someone who's just like, oh, we're going to build one of those missile vehicles that the Russians make, but we're doing it for a movie and we don't have a very good budget. So we'll just sort of
slap it together with cardboard.
We'll get a hold of whatever tank we can and like mock something up, you know.
It should make a quite interesting kit, actually, and it comes with which I'm very pleased to see. It comes with some masks for the windows, which is really good. And the parts count.
Tiny little decal sheet for your radios and that, which, yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken,
besides the gauges for the dashboard, the rest of it looks pretty basic.
And if I'm not mistaken, individual links for the tracks as well.
Yeah, looks like it. Yep.
That'd make a great little kit. I could be very tempted to purchase one of them.
Oh, there you go, Dave. Dave's new purchase.
Oh, I didn't say new purchase.
Not for me.
Well,
interest me on that.
That's all I've got for what's new in the hobby world. However, the Falcon is written
well, hang on.
You go first, Ian.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just having a look here. And
the one time he skips us over, you've actually got something to say.
Oh, look at here. Was it ICM? Bringing out a Dornier 217J1-2 German night fighter. In 148 scale.
Nice oxide, isn't it?
That's a nice looking kit. I like that. I like the shape of those Dornier 217s. They look pretty cool.
Now, haven't ICM also
It's got the external fuel tank. It's got the extra fuel tank in the bomb bay.
All right.
So yeah.
Is that what that bulge is?
Yeah, that'd be the extra fuel tank. Yeah, so it can last longer up in the skies.
Hasn't ICM already?
Night fighters,
Hasn't ICM already done a large scale World War II German bomber? I'm just trying to think of what it was.
Yeah, they've done a few.
Done every single one.
Mm.
Yeah, they did the Junkers 88, didn't they?
They've done the HE 111.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did they? In that scale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's the only other kit other than the old Rebel one.
Yep, true.
They've done all of them. I can't remember all of them, but it's something like you've got this one, the Dornier 217, various different versions. This one's the Night Fighter, but they've also got the regular bomber version, and I think they've also got the Dornier 17. There's a whole bunch of them. They've done lots of them.
And it does look like a nice kit. So, sorry, Dave, back to you.
Okay, back to the Falcon. So the Falcon writes in news for this week. Aircraft. After the sales success of their 148 scale Curtiss Wright XP-55 Ascender, Model SFIT have announced a couple more US World War II experimental aircraft types. They're going to be doing in 48 scale the Volti XP-54 Swoosh Goose.
Oh, the Swoosh Goose.
And the Northrop XP-56 Black Bullet.
Ooh. Now there's an interesting aircraft.
Yeah. Model SFIT have also announced, have also shown the first test shots of their upcoming 172nd scale Dassault Mirage 111B, which won't be long before that one's released. Clear Prop will be downscaling their 148 scale Douglas A2 Sky Shark to 172nd scale, which is interesting. Brent Gun Models are releasing a new boxing for their 172nd scale Yak 1B kit. This one has markings for the French Normandy unit, not the usual red, white and blue spinner of the later Normandy Yaks either. These are earlier types. One of the options is even sports a shark mouth in. There you go.
Ooh, shark's mouth.
Special Hobby have announced a release of their Mark III version of their 172nd scale Short Sunderland in June. Well, that's interesting. The Infinity Models 32 scale Helldiver has been mentioned a couple of times before on the podcast. And it gets another mention because the website at Infinity has got an error on it. The price is coming up as €40, which isn't correct. I bet to say for a 32nd scale aircraft, €40. So for those of you who are going to the Infinity Models website and seeing it for €40, there's an actual issue with their particular website at the moment. So they're going to have
So what is it? Does he give the actual cost?
No, the Falcon hasn't got that information, so we'll have to wait and see.
It'd be a pretty penny, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I would say so, yeah.
It's going to make a huge kit, though, in 32nd scale. Be a monster.
Totally agree. It'd be massive.
He goes on to say Mark I models are to release 3 boxings of the Hawker Siddeley HS748 Andover in 1/144th scale. I flew in that when I was in the Air Training Corps cadets back in the 70s, actually. A Hawker Siddeley HS748. It was a great little aircraft. I think the Royal Australian Air Force used it for navigation and electronic warfare training. Certainly for navigators. I do remember that. The second, So the HS748 in Andover are going to be representing aircraft in Asian and Australian military service. So for those of you who do like building your Royal Australian Air Force aircraft, I'm quite sure you'll be very keen to hear this. He then goes on to talk about military vehicles. So Trumpeter have announced 3 new 135th scale kits. The first one is a BREM 1M armoured recovery vehicle. The second one is a World War II German anti-aircraft gun, the 5cm Flak 41. And the third one is a Russian 3M54 Club K. Whoa, what's going on there? Just 1 second, and I'll just pause that.
So the Flak 41, basically, they're doing a German 88.
No, the 5cm Flak 41. That's not an 88.
5cm.
Yeah.
5cm Flak 41.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for those of you who actually built the 88, you're gonna have to get the this one. 'Cause it'll make a nice little addition to the collection.
Yeah, definitely.
And as I was saying, the Russian 3M54 Club K in the 40-foot variant, which is basically a missile system, it comes in a 40-foot container, which Trump has seemed to be doing quite a lot of lately. From ICM, another in their line of 135th scale Model T kits. The new one is going to be the Model T RNAS, which was the Royal Navy Air Service armoured car. Many are apparently sticking to their breakneck speed release schedule and have 3 new announcements. Another's in their growing line of rolling railway stock, a 135th scale Russian Imperial Railway covered wagon. There's going to be a set of 135th scale wooden pallets, and also a French petrol station or gas station set in the 1930s, 1940s, also in 135th scale. And that's all that the Falcon has for this week.
Interesting.
And the only other little rumour I heard is, unfortunately, it's another closure. Now, there was an aftermarket company that was doing wooden props that suited the Wingnut Wings aircraft.
Yeah, proper props.
They've announced that they're no longer going to be doing any proper props.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wonder what they're going to... What, they're just closing up or going to a different direction?
No, they're just saying that they're whatever they got in stock, they're selling off, and that, my understanding, they're not producing any more into the future. Because obviously the market's drying up, which strikes me as a bit odd because there's a huge, stash collection out there of Wingnut Wings aircraft that people are slowly going to be working their way through. So you'd think they'd still consider keeping the production line open for their wooden props.
Yeah, definitely agree. That's really bizarre.
Yeah, anyway. Well, that's all I have for what's new in the modelling world. Gents, do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't know.
No.
Well, how about we have a break and we're going to come back and talk about where we purchase our modelling kits and accessories from. It's something we really haven't touched on. It's a wide-ranging sort of discussion about the old true brick-and-mortar model shops right through the electronic ones, etc., etc. So we're back.
Wow. And before you go,
yeah,
while we were chatting and you mentioned we're talking about Wingnut Wings, I decided to just quickly jump on eBay and see what the Wingnut Wings kits are going for at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Wow. The Rumpler C4 early is going for nearly $300.
Oh my God. That's just stupid. Yeah.
$250.
You're kidding me.
That for a sock with pup.
I think the original...
A tiny little sock with pup.
That was about like $95 when it came out originally?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, but I was actually thinking it would be more than that. I thought it'd be in like the area of 500 by now.
Oh, yeah. Halberstadt CL2 early, $338.
See, I'm in a bind now because I've got a Wingnut Wings Albatross and I don't know whether to build it or to sell it now.
Well, I've got two Albatrosses. I've got a sock with ship's camel. I've got a few. I've got a Fokker D7, I think. And I've got the really big bugger, the Felix State. That'd be worth a few bickies on eBay now, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. So what do we do, Ian? Do we sell them or do we hang on to them saying, yeah, we're going to build them one day in the future?
Yeah, well, at the moment, I'm still going to build them in the future, but hey, who knows what happens in the future? If someone offers me a silly amount of money for one, well, I might just part with it.
Yeah.
Especially the Felix style, I reckon. Because I think it's hard to justify keeping something that's that big. That isn't a ship.
Well, and for Ian, it's even more so because he's got nowhere to display it after it's built anyway, so...
No, not where I live at the moment,
no.
I'm really pushed for space.
All right, guys, let's have a break and we'll come back and talk about where we purchase our model kits from.
Sounds good. All right.
Fine Scale Modeller is the world's most recognised and essential magazine for modelers and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either a print edition or their digital edition. Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. Okay, and we're back to have a chat about where we actually purchase our model kits and accessories from. And it's something we haven't really spoken about in a great amount of detail in the past, so I thought it would be a great idea to perhaps just talk about our experiences and some of the pitfalls and some of the pros and the cons of the various places where you can get stuffed. So let's start with the good old bricks and mortars model hobby shop. We're lucky here in where we live, and I've mentioned this numerous times before, we've got about 15 hobby shops within an hour to an hour and a half driving distance. And that's just
the closest one to me is 5 minutes driving.
Yeah, and that's just in metropolitan Melbourne. If you go out into the regional areas of Victoria, there's at least another 6 to 8 model shops out in the country areas as well. And that's not even touching on the specialist shops that do like wargaming stuff as well. So we're extremely well catered for with bricks and mortars, and I don't quite know why Victoria is, or in particular Melbourne, must be such a large modelling community. Well, there has to be to support all these amount of shops that are still up and running. But, you know, as the years have gone by across the rest of the world, we've seen a constriction in bricks and mortars hobby shops where they're slightly closed up, the old sort of mum and dad shops, etc., etc. But I still get a huge kick out of going into a hobby store and just browsing with nothing particular in mind, and you come across something, you go, oh yeah, that's really good, I might grab that. What about you guys?
No, I'd rather stay home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a millennial coming out of
it. I occasionally just pop in just for a look, and if there's something there I like, I'll grab it.
Even occasionally, you and I, and we'll go on a little expedition, and we'll go off to a couple of different shops and just have a look around, and with nothing in mind, but we end up always purchasing something, don't we?
Yes, unfortunately, yes, we do. Always spend money.
Yes, that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I don't like doing it, because I don't have. If I impulse buy something, I'll end up buying something that I'll regret.
What?
It's like I buy it, and like suddenly it's a case of cool, I bought this model. Oh, that's right. There's this problem with it, that problem with it. I wish I'd known this beforehand. I should have done my research.
But with the fact that we all carry around mobile phones and all that sort of stuff, so when we're in a hobby shop now, you can quickly just go onto Scalemates and just have a quick look and see, give the details of that particular model kit that you're suddenly interested in. You can just take the extra couple of minutes, can't you?
Yes, correct.
Technically, yes. But the chances of you finding the information that you want at the time that you need it is usually not aligned. Like even if you do all the research and then carefully buy the kit, right, you may find out halfway through the build that something with the kit is wrong and you should have changed it. And it would have been easier to change at the start than at the end. Murphy's Law won't let you get off that lightly.
And the other good thing about going to a good old-fashioned bricks and mortar shop is you can have a chat with the guys who are there, not only just the guys behind the counter, but obviously other modelers are sort of walking up and down the aisles. And this
is... you're one of those creepy guys that just chats to people.
No, I'm not one of those creepy guys.
They're trying to do something on your own, trying to do a bit of modelling, and there's that one fella that just comes up and just wants to bend your ear for about an hour.
Dave's that guy who they'll be like the father and son, and they're like looking for a car kit or something really entry level, and here comes Dave saying, "Here you go, buy this $200 Yamato or some other massive undertaking of a kit."
Well, something similar has happened to me. I have been in a modelling shop where I've just been minding my own business, walking along. And a middle-aged lady has come up to me and said, "Oh, excuse me, I'm looking to buy a model kit for my grandson. Which would you recommend?" And I've been quite happy to sort of point her in a direction of something I think that it would be easy and suitable for a grandson to build. So,
yeah,
it happens. You do interact with people there. And let's face it, the hobby shops that are still around now are the real diamonds. They're the real good hobby shops. They're the ones with the guys who own the shop, know all about their subject. Generally, they don't hire morons, or you'd hope they don't hire morons anymore. And they they're able to give you that value-added service when you're actually at the shop. Even down to allowing you to open the box up and have a look inside, getting the instructions out so you can just double-check the colour call-outs for the paints, so that there and then on the spot, I can also purchase the paints that I need for that particular kit.
Yeah.
See, I've also heard about like some pretty, funny stories of the various peculiar retailers in our city where they're very unfriendly.
Yes.
Unfriendly people.
Yeah, well, it used to be that Warlords Miniatures down here, and I remember the guy that ran that. He was a real strange cat. He'd walk in and he'd watch it, and it's like he's expecting you to go running off with a kid under your arms. And every time you went in there, you were just wondering, is this guy going to attack me? Is he going to just abuse me? And he was a weird cat.
Well, I remember when I was in Canada, I stopped in at the recommendation of the guys and went to a hobby shop called Wheels and Wings. And, you walk in and there's about 4 guys standing at the counter just shooting the breeze about, models, etc., etc. The guy behind the counter, I can't think of his name off the top of my head now. He was a youngish guy, but he was well-versed and knew exactly what he was sort of talking about. And they were just having a great old sort of gibber there as they were it was like their Saturday morning sort of ritual. You go to those places around the world, and it'll be a coffee shop, and you see the old guys sitting out the front with a small macchiato or something like that, just sitting there shooting the breeze. That's what this felt like as I sort of walked in this particular shop. It was just great. It really was. And everybody made you feel comfortable and welcome. And, of course, as soon as I opened my mouth up, they could hear the Australian English, and they sort of pegged me straight away. And it was great. It just felt very welcoming, and there's nothing better than going into one of those hobby stores that all the shelves are just packed and crammed full of stuff, and you can just go off and you can lose yourself for a couple of hours hunting around in the piles for different things, and you go, I haven't seen one of them for years, and I just love it. I really do.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a bricks and mortar hobby shop that had a coffee machine in it.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because our Gundam Plus that Ian and I have been to, on Saturdays he'll advertise you'll have either a fish and chips day or a pizza day, and he orders about 6 pizzas, and he mentions it on his Facebook feed, and so he says if you're passing by, drop in for a slice of pizza. What a great idea.
Because as soon as you go in there for a slice of pizza, it's not just a pizza you're going to walk out with. You're going to walk out with a kit.
Exactly right. That's true. And not necessarily just one kit either. And, of course, then there's all the other hobby stores that have cottoned on to the idea that they should have mailing lists. So you're regularly getting updates as to what's coming in to a particular shop. And they allow you the option to order online or via mail as well, which is just a sensational idea.
Oh, it is. Absolutely agree.
I still love the bricks and mortar, and we'll talk a little bit more later on about, but I am saying here and now that not only will the old-fashioned bricks and mortar shop survive, I believe that there will be a resurgence of it in the future.
Ooh.
And I put that all down to the next bit we're going to talk about, which is eBay and mail order. Because the costs of shipping now outweigh any savings or other advantages that you would get from ordering a kit online, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So
it depends, because some of these stores, though, if you, like, for example, B&A, if you spend a certain amount of money, it's free shipping.
Yes, but B&A is just a pure internet store, whereas the old bricks and mortar store, yes, their prices are slightly higher than what you could possibly get online, but they've got to be high because they've got some overheads to sort of pay for.
Well, they've got to pay for their rent, water.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that the cost of where you'd normally be making a saving and buying a kit cheaper, that's being wiped out now by the costs of the having it mailed out to you, of the cost of having it shipped to you.
Yes.
You know, I'm gonna kind of disagree. I don't think that the bricks and mortar hobby shop will return because it's been replaced by the online retailer that is local to you, right? So you can go to them and you can say, "Can you get this in for me?" Right? But they don't need to. They don't need all the extra costs involved in staffing a bricks and mortar shop, that you can walk into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we talk about B&A Model World on here quite often because it's the easiest and best for us. But see,
and their stock is huge.
That's what I was going to get to, right? Because they're local to us, so we can get our stuff quickly from them. So they have all the advantages of a bricks and mortar hobby shop that's local to us. They can get aftermarket, right? They've got plenty of aftermarket on their website. Yeah. Whereas it's really, really difficult for a bricks and mortar to have that kind of range. They just don't have the space. At most, like if they were smart, if a local hobby shop was smart, the most they would go in for is, say, for example, Eduard canopy masks.
Yeah.
Right. They don't take up any room. They're flat. You just put a little tiny box on the counter, and done. You don't need to worry about anything else.
Exactly.
But all resin aftermarket and stuff, it all takes up too much space. Where are you going to stock it? Where are you going to organize it? Because those boxes don't really have good sort of labeling and stuff on them, so that you can just sort of browse them like a library.
Yeah.
You have to sort of flick through them.
Totally agree. And speaking of that, like I'm just, while we're chatting, I'm on the B&A Model World website, and I've just gone to the aftermarket sets for 1/350 scale ships. There's around 1,200 separate aftermarket sets that's available.
Yeah, the range is certainly larger.
And that's just for one scale, for one specific scale. So what else they've got there?
When you think about it, basically the online shop that is in your country or in your state or local area is going to be of much more use to you than ordering from another country, and it'll also be better than walking into a local hobby shop. But it strikes the nice spot in between.
But my counter argument to that is, and I agree 100% with what you're saying, Julian, in the fact that the online stores can offer a larger range. What I'm saying is, whereas in the past when these internet shops first popped up, their advantage was pricing against what you could what you could purchase in the hobby shop was. Generally, it was cheaper. The shipping costs still made the kit cheaper than what you could buy in the hobby store. What I'm saying now is that advantage is being completely wiped out. So the only advantage that they do have over the traditional bricks and mortar shop is that they can carry a larger range than perhaps a smaller hobby shop can.
Yeah.
In particular, the aftermarket stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, the shipping is only really like harsh if you're ordering from overseas. If you're ordering from a local online shop, it's reasonable.
Oh yeah, agreed. Yeah. And we've all had that instance.
In a lot of cases, you even have like free shipping to same state.
Yeah. Providing you spend a certain amount of money. Yeah, but we've all had the instance where we've purchased a decal sheet, and the decal sheet costs $8, and the shipping costs $28 on top of that.
Yeah, well, you got to stop buying stuff from France, Dave.
but
Yeah, I know.
You can see what I'm saying, though, can't you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like the costs for like ordering a couple of items from overseas is going to have huge shipping costs compared to like the local online shop that can sort of order like a shipping container worth of aftermarket and kits and stuff from that manufacturer and get it into the country for a fraction of the price. Whereas a local hobby shop has to pay for the staff, has to pay for the lighting, all the security, etc. All of that stuff is huge. Not having like an actual shop to walk into is a massive saving, and that saving goes on to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
hang on. So a large internet shop would still have some extremely large costs. They'd have to have a larger warehouse footprint to store all the stuff. They would have to have people who were taking the orders, and then you'd have to have the pickers to actually go out and pick the orders. Ian, you used to work in this sort of area where you'd get orders coming in and you have to go and sort it off the shelf and then fill it.
Pick and pack in, yeah.
So there's a cost to that as well. So,
well, if you think about it in terms of floor space, a local hobby shop is going to be smaller than a warehouse. It's also got to have the aisles wider so that multiple people can walk past each other in the aisles. Whereas in a warehouse, they can just squash them in as much as possible and organize things for maximum
efficiency.
Efficiency, yeah. Like they can just cram everything in, knowing that they'll only have like one guy walk down this one particular aisle at any one given time. They can stack things all the way up to the ceiling of the warehouse if they need to. You can't do that in a hobby shop.
No. Yeah, and look, online shops are always going to trump the bricks and mortars in the range that they can offer.
Yep,
always going to do that.
Yeah, well, that's what caters to us non-casual modelers, right? We're the people that buy the aftermarket.
Yep. Yes, we are.
Yeah, well, that's very true. So some other places where we go and look and purchase stuff are eBay, where you got individuals selling stuff. eBay can be very fraught. And now, having said that, I know at least one listener who listens to us, and he has an eBay sort of store. And I've been to his store, and his prices are quite reasonable, along with the shipping. But with some eBay places, geez, the prices that they're asking. And if you go in there as somebody who has no idea about the hobby or prices or etc., you can get burnt really bad.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And it always staggers me. I mean, well, what Ian was saying earlier on about the prices of the Wingnut Wings kits now on eBay. I mean, what are these guys thinking?
They're just taking advantage of the fact that there are people out there who are going to want to buy one and they're not going to be able to.
Yep.
Shipping costs with eBay also, it's quite ridiculously high in a lot of instances. And it burns me up buying a $10 kit or $10 part and having to pay double or even triple the shipping costs for that particular item. In fact, it turns me off. I just won't buy it.
To me is a big put off. That's a big put off for me too, is the shipping. I have to agree.
Yep. And I can't see how they can justify. And again, I'll go back to the decal sheet. A decal sheet, I don't mind paying $10 for a decal sheet, $15 depending on what it is and how many sort of decals, because there's costs involved, etc., etc. What does tick me off is spending double or even 3 times the cost of a decal sheet just to have the darn thing shipped to me. I don't care where you're shipping it from. It shouldn't cost that much.
Well, it's not a box. It should just be, it's not a letter either, because it has to remain rigid, right?
Yeah, but
you don't want to get your decal sheet and it's been folded.
No, you don't. But gee,
It happens.
Yeah, it's happened to me.
Well, it has, but
nothing worse than spending good money on a decal sheet or a photo etch sheet, getting it delivered, and someone at the post office has decided to fold your parcel in half.
Yeah, even though it's got do not
I've had that done with a photo etch sheet.
Oh,
yeah.
Pre-folded photo etch, lovely.
Yeah, folded right down the middle. It was a set of wing flaps for a 32 scale P40.
Oh no!
And there's no way you can fix it once they're folded.
No.
And Australia Post, well, they just couldn't be bothered. Sorry, Julian.
No, I mean,
you work for Australia Post, but they just couldn't be bothered.
I haven't had anything come in the mail that was folded by any of the in between. The stuff that I had had been folded and left in a sort of curved not folded, but like a curved state while being stored at like a warehouse or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you could tell that it happened over a long period of time or whatever. Yeah. Shouldn't we cover the various websites where we buy our models online?
Oh, we could do that, but I was going to get on and
Yeah.
talk about the other places we can purchase kits as well before. But if you want to go into that first, knock yourself out.
I keep a nice list. I mean, I know, for example, a lot of people across the pond in North America will buy from B&A Model World, because they've just got a really good website, and they can often get things that you can't get from Asia.
Correct.
Yeah. So a lot of people have heard of, say, what's it called? Lucky Model.
Yep, Lucky Model, yes.
Yeah, Lucky Model is a pretty common one, even though their range is usually not, like, if you're not buying something that's newly released, they're probably not that good. But the idea is that you sort of have like as many websites as you can get a hold of, and you go through them all until you can find the one that's selling the thing that you need. Hobby Easy is another good one. HLJ, Hobby Link Japan.
Hobby Link Japan, yes.
Hobby Link Japan
Always
is
a good one.
awesome.
If you want anything that's a Japanese kit, they're pretty damn good for that sort of stuff still.
Now, Hobby Link Japan, it's actually run by an American, and the Scale Model podcast had a interview with him in the early days, I think about episode 7 or 8, and it was a really interesting episode because he just lived in Japan, and he saw a need because people kept asking him to sort of send stuff across, model kits that they couldn't get elsewhere, and he decided to sort of start this place up. And it's a great place to go if you're looking for stuff that you can't get anywhere else in the West.
Also, like Hasegawa kits are so expensive here, but if you get them from Hobby Link Japan, they're cheap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll happily eat the shipping because it's just that much cheaper. I don't know why they get marked up to like double, triple the price, but it makes no sense to me.
No.
What else we've got? So we've got, like, locally to us, we've also got Creative Models Australia. They turn up at a lot of our local. Well, sorry, they don't talk. They turn up at a lot of events, major events around the country. But their website isn't the best, but it works. I've ordered from them before.
Yep.
As long as you can like figure out how to navigate it, you might be able to find something that you need. And I'm not sure if I could recommend it necessarily to our overseas listeners, though. Just because I don't know how, like, when you order something from a website that is not set up for international customers, it can be pretty difficult.
Oh,
I've had to have. That's a good idea.
What's that one out of the UK? That big one. That big one. Oh, Hannets, yes. Love Hannets, but please, for the love of God, update your website. Oh my Lord!
They made it. It looks like it dates back to 1994.
It does. Oh, please update your website. Oh, that gets so much more, and it's as slow as 1994 as well.
Yeah. Yep. They were actually like the online retailer that I bought that decal sheet from that came cracked down the middle because it had been stored curved.
Hannets used to do the old style ordering before the internet days, where you would get their catalogue.
Mail order?
And they did do mail order. So you'd either, ring them up an exorbitant international call costs, or you just send them a letter with your credit card details and with the particular part that you wanted.
Gee, that's much. That's a bit too much.
It is. It is.
In North America, from what I understand, North America kind of sucks for ordering. I'm not sure I don't think they've got too many good like online retailers. Like they often talk about like Hobby Lobby and then they often talk about how they all have to order from overseas. So I think they're sort of in a bit of a tough spot for some reason.
And not only that, because the US is such a large country, they don't have a lot of the modelers aren't as close to, say, the good old bricks and mortar shops as, say, we have the good fortune to be near. So their only option is to either order online or order from overseas. And I know that a lot of them that I certainly deal with or talk to, they have that actual problem. So...
Well, I have. If I was living in North America, I'd probably be ordering from Hobby World USA. The guy, it's a one-man band, so you got to bear that in mind. He is very visible on Facebook. You can talk to him and get him to order things in that you want.
Now that's Model World you're talking about, is it?
Hobby World USA.
Oh, right. Because I've dealt with Model World. Actually, that's in Australia. Sorry.
Also,
I thought it was Virginia.
If you're after like guns and other sort of Japanese sort of brands, for paint and other supplies, you can go to the because in the US they actually have plenty of online retailers and shops that cater to the Gundam community exclusively.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you can go to them and they'll have the paint and stuff that you might want.
Yes.
And one of those is New Type HQ. I hear good things about them. Also for aftermarket, you can go to Ultracast in Canada.
Yes, I've dealt with Ultracast a few times. Yeah, they're very easy to deal with.
Yeah, they don't just sell their own stuff; they sell other aftermarket as well.
The beauty about the US market, though, is their purchasing power of their dollar compared to ours is so much larger. So, they can gain and leverage off that when they're purchasing from overseas.
Yes.
What about other
Europe?
places? Go for it. Europe.
Yeah, I almost never order from Europe. Like I know Ian's ordered from what was that Eastern European?
I'm trying to remember. It's they're from the Ukraine, I think.
Did you ever get that part or model?
No.
No.
No. That's the one thing you got to watch out for too when you start dealing with some of the Eastern European countries. Yeah, sometimes your money can go missing.
And that's where the advantage of when you're paying for this stuff, you can pay through PayPal. And
because then you've at least then you've got some fallback.
And even some credit card companies will also give you a fallback as well. So that's perhaps an advantage, but certainly, and I'm not promoting the use of PayPal. I think there's other ones out there, but certainly the largest and the biggest. And it gives you a level of protection when you're dealing with overseas purchases.
Correct.
Even local
Which
purchases.
you do need.
Yeah.
Sorry?
What about other places apart from bricks and mortar and the interweb? Where else can we go and purchase models from?
Swap meets.
Yes, the good old swap meets.
Swap and sells, mate. Always a bargain to be had at swap and sell.
There is, and sometimes you can. It's almost like a lucky dip as well. So, at a swap and sell, always recommend you opening up the kit and having a look inside it to make sure that you got all the parts.
Yes. I find that they tend to be a really good place to pick up kits that are no longer in production. Or is it because for example, if you're after a Revel kit, but a lot of Revel stuff is in limbo at the moment because of the fact that Revel USA went under, right? So between sort of being sold off and picked up, much like in the same situation with that will probably be in with Wingnut Wings, there's nowhere to get them in the meantime. And if you really want to build that thing anytime soon, then you're really out of luck unless you go to a swap and sell, or maybe eBay. I suppose it's possible, but even eBay doesn't have everything.
But also, some of the advantages of swap and sell is the guy who's selling the kit has sometimes you open the box up, they've already got a lot of the aftermarket stuff that they've already purchased, and just have for one reason or another decided not to go ahead and.
Yeah, when you get home and you find the added bonuses.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like a lucky dip sometimes.
Yeah,
and sometimes some of the bonuses you can find you don't really want.
If you're selling at a swap and sell, you make more money if you sell the aftermarket separately.
Yeah, you've mentioned that to me a few times, Julian.
Yeah, that's from Robert, who has sold lots and lots and lots of kits at swap and sells, because he's always buying kits and then he doesn't build them, and then he ends up selling them to buy other new kits.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but
it's
obviously,
a vicious circle.
If you're lugging 50 kits to a swap and sell, you're probably not going to be bothered to separate them into all their separate aftermarket that you bought for it as well. So you take the lazy way out and you just put them all up on there and you say, just give me an extra like $10, $20 for each kit or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they bargain that down, so you end up essentially giving aftermarket
giving away your aftermarket sets. Yes. Yep.
So swap and sells will generally be at a model show, or it'll be a club-specific day in which they've decided to have a swap and sell, in which they invite people to come in and run tables and sell their individual personal stash or parts of their stash off to the public. The only trouble I've got with swap and sells is that generally it's over 1 day, or indeed limited time, like 3 or 4 hours, and it is like looking for a toilet roll in the middle of a pandemic. All the crowds that are there, it's a big crush of people. You're trying to sort of, get past and look at all the different items that are for sale, and it's generally not enough time and too many people in these particular rooms. That's a downside.
See, for me, the major downside is having to get up at the crack of dawn.
Oh, gee, it's such a millennial, aren't you? God, listen to him.
Getting up at the crack of dawn, eh?
I like staying up late, and the complete, downside to that is that it's really difficult to get up early.
Mate, you should take a week with me, mate.
I've worked earlier.
Get up at 4 in the morning.
I've worked a job where I had to get up at 4 in the morning. Right? It's not that I can't do it. It's that I don't want to.
Yep.
I don't want to.
Another area in which you can purchase kits, and I'm not going to go on to your personal preferences, Julian, about getting up or not getting up in the morning. Another area where you can purchase kits is the old-fashioned modelling forums. Generally, they'll have a section of for sale. And indeed, even Facebook now has dedicated Facebook pages for selling model kits as well.
Mm-hmm.
At least,
what I don't get is that I'm pretty sure like Facebook has some kind of like store functionality where you can list items and sell them, but none of these modeling groups will use it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, they could probably set it up so that it's as easy as like buying from any online store. You click on it, you say add it to cart, and then you just buy it. And they just negotiate between you and the person who's selling it. Right? But that's not what happens. Instead, it's all these dodgy sort of Facebook groups where they want you to, PayPal them X amount of money, and I just don't trust it.
Definitely buyer beware, and there's generally a buyer alert out. So when somebody has been dodgy, it'll get promoted within that particular page.
Yeah.
Or indeed,
that's one thing about us modelers. We're not afraid to say if someone's ripped us off.
Yeah, exactly right. And why should we be? And even on the old-fashioned forums, on there, little section for selling as well. There'll be a buyer alert up there for bad buyers or bad sellers or whatever. And a bad seller can be just as bad as a bad buyer, or the other way around. So where somebody says, "Yes, I'll buy that," or "I want to buy that," and they never sort of come forward and send you the money or anything, so you're left sort of wandering.
Yep.
You know what I also think is probably underrated is being networked with other modelers and sort of being able to say to them, "Oh, do you have this kit? I need to get this kit, but I can't find it anywhere." Because every modeler is a hoarder. Everyone's got like a massive stash of things they'll never build. There's a good chance that they'll have the kit that you want, and they're just not that interested in that subject anymore because they've moved on to some other genre, right?
Yep.
Well,
Maybe they don't build flock walls anymore, and they're now more into the Pacific War. And then you say to them, "Hey, do you have a flock wall Phase 3? I need to get one." And they'll be like, "Yeah, I'll give it that. Do you have one of those? I'll swap you." You know.
Well, that's where local modelling clubs have come into their own. So with your own little network in there, and even between modelling clubs, you can sort of bring a model kit along that you want to get rid of on a particular modelling meeting, and say, "Hey, I don't want this anymore, and here's the price. First in, best dressed."
Yeah, like my Hasegawa Pete, the Japanese fleet plane. What happened was someone in our club decided that they would bring in like a whole bunch of their models to show what they had in their stash for Japanese planes, and they had 2 of that kit, along with the photo etch rigging and everything.
Wow!
I was like, I'll buy one of those off you.
Yeah.
Rather than having to search for that stuff, I'd like to build it, but I don't want to have to hunt around for the official photo etch for it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And he sold it to me.
Well done.
And generally, you could say he's a trusted buyer and a trusted seller as well.
Well, it's Robert. Yes, I bought one of his kits.
But I've done the same. I bought the Edward Aussie Spitfire box, and I bought it on a whim, thinking I'd be great, and I knew I'd never build it, so I took it to the club, and one of the guys there bought it off me on it, and I only in fact, I took about a $5 loss, I think, so there you go.
Definitely agree.
Oh, any other places you can think of, or we sort of reached the end of the road of this discussion?
Yeah, I think we've reached the end of the road.
I think we've gotten there now, mate, yeah.
All right, fantastic. All right, boys, well, we're coming up for nearly, well over an hour and a half now, so it's been a long one today. Let's have a sign-off from Julian.
Buy more tools, I suppose.
I suppose. Come on.
Oh.
With conviction, Julian. With conviction.
I had a conversation with a guy on the internet the other day. Our favorite tool manufacturer, Despair, or whatever they're called.
Yep.
They've released a tool that is, it's very niche. You wouldn't buy it unless you really thought you needed it. And what it is, it's an angular sanding.
I saw that. Yes, I saw that.
Hey, what?
Yeah.
So what it is, it's got like a protractor kind of thing that you can move to any angle, and you butt your whatever you're sanding up against that, and then as it goes into like the thing, you've got like a sanding block that's on a rail, right? And you move that backwards and forwards so that you can sand at an angle that is predefined. And some guy was there, and he was saying, "Oh, this particular tool is a rip-off of this other one." So I went hunting for this other one that supposedly is the original, and there were no photos of it except for a little tiny thumbnail, so you could barely see what you get in it, and it really looked like something that someone had made at home, made out of like some wood and some other things like that. And I was like, well, you really can't and they were very similarly priced, but the Despair one was cheaper, despite the fact that it's made out of anodized aluminium and all that sort of stuff. There's really no comparison. But he was a stubborn fellow, and he wanted to stick to his guns about how much better it was, or something or other.
I love the display tools, and it's funny, I went to their website as well, because I must have seen a similar sort of discussion on this angled sander, which if you're doing, scratch building stuff and you need precise sort of ends and lines and everything, I think it's a great idea. But
it's super niche, I think.
yeah, I agree 100%.
How often
You'd have to be a really
specific angle.
You'd have to be a real dedicated sort of scratch builder with high tolerances to sort of want it. But anyway, I was interesting to look at the Spay website, and they've got a whole heap of sections that sort of aren't filled out yet. So they're obviously on a roll and going to be producing a lot more sort of stuff into the future.
Oh, yeah. They've got plenty of stuff.
Anyway, Julian, so back to the sign-off with a bit more gusto.
So yes, buy more tools. It's probably a good idea, Probably. I mean, within reason, like I've been seeing a lot of like sort of people online at the moment buy those drill press. The drill press is quite popular. It's very in right now, but I don't have that kind of room. Yeah. If you do, maybe you could buy it.
A drill press, yeah. I'll eventually get one.
You can get one that just your Dremel type tools will sit in.
Yeah, that's what I want to get.
Yeah, that kind's cool.
I can't ever imagine needing to be that precise in my drilling that I'd need to get one of them. But anyway. Ian.
Photo which is your friend.
And with that, we'd like to thank you for listening, and we will be back next week, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll actually be coming to you all together live from the studio. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye. Well, thanks for being in with us this week. We hope you enjoyed the show. As always, don't forget to drop in and listen to our friends from Canada at the Scale Model Podcast. Stuart and Anthony got a great show over there. And if you're not happy with that accent, of course, you can always go over to the Plastic Model Mojo, our good friends from Kentucky, Dave and Michael, and listen to them talking about what type of fluids they like to drink when they're actually modeling as well. Two really great shows. Don't forget also our special promo for 10% off with SMS modeling paints. Have a listen at the beginning of the show for that actual promo, and go over there and have a look at the great range of paints and kits, paints and accessories, I should say, that they've got. That's it from me. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll be back next week.